Thank you so much for coming here in person and joining online. I've been really looking forward to telling you the story of Emyria and why I'm so excited about our prospects in developing new treatments for neuroscience and mental health. But let's first start with a story. This poor chap suffers from Parkinson's disease. 7 million people are affected globally, making it the second most common neurological disorder after Alzheimer's disease. It's characterized by depletion of dopamine, which is an important brain neurotransmitter, and untreated leads to this slow movement, trouble starting movements, obviously difficulties with one's activities of daily life. You may know somebody personally with this disease, and if not, you probably have certainly heard of Muhammad Ali or Michael J. Fox, two famous people who suffer from this condition. Fortunately, there is a treatment for Parkinson's disease. It's L-DOPA. In fact, its discovery was so remarkable they made a Hollywood film about it, starring Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, called The Awakenings. This treatment gets your movement back, but over a period of time, it itself can lead to a movement disorder, and you can spend a lot of your time with those kinds of wriggles and movement challenges as well. And so this gentleman who you saw in the previous video, he's also shown here. His name's Tim Lawrence. He's a stuntman based in the UK who made a pretty remarkable discovery one night. On the left here is day one. This is what he normally would look like untreated. So he hasn't started his L-DOPA treatment yet. And you can see he has great difficulty reaching for that cup and taking a drink. A little bit later, here you'll see his L-DOPA has now kicked in. So his movement has certainly improved, but he's got those discoordinated, jerky movements, which is a byproduct, a side effect of that treatment. Now on the right, you might be wondering what's going on. He looks completely normal. And on day two, he's taken another dose of MDMA, or ecstasy. And he actually discovered that this was almost cured his condition after a night out at a nightclub. Now, the trouble is, the reason that Tim doesn't take this drug every day is because it makes him high. And he doesn't want to be out of his mind, even though it might be improving his movement. And so that led to a journey of inspiration and discovery at the University of Western Australia. And I'd love to take you through that story. But first, what is MDMA? You probably have heard of it as ecstasy or the party drug. It is currently an illegal amphetamine. And I do want to stress that MDMA that we're talking about is medically developed. It's ultra-pure. The stuff that you get on the street is notorious for being not what's advertised. And so I do not advise anybody to go to their dealer to treat your Parkinson's disease. Stick with the medicine and give us some time to come up with a treatment for you. But MDMA is really fascinating. It releases three primary neurotransmitters. Serotonin, you might have heard of, related to feelings of well-being and lifting mood. Dopamine, which is the depleted cause, creates that Parkinson's symptoms, and it's related to feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. And noradrenaline, which is related to attention and fight or flight. And so when you combine these three neurotransmitters together, you get these great effects: increased alertness, positive mood, and very strong pro-social effects. But of course, you get that persistent euphoria too. So the smart guys at UWA thought, well, what if we could take MDMA as inspiration, this structure here, make some modifications and see whether we can remove the euphoria and actually retain the positive sort of dopamine effects that led to those positive symptoms that you saw from Tim's video. And through a series of really innovative experiments, they were able to develop a compound called UWA121, took it through gold standard primate studies, and were able to more than double the improved symptoms without the hallucinogenic or the psychoactive effects of MDMA. A really remarkable discovery. But there the project stalled for many years, unable to get funding until Emyria teamed up with this group a year ago. And that's begun a terrific journey of discovery inspired by this remarkable compound, MDMA. So why do we love MDMA so much? Well, mainly for its chemical properties. It is a small and stable molecule that gets into the brain, which is often something that's quite challenging to do for new drugs. We know that it has many points of diversification, so we have the opportunity to make lots of different kinds of changes to that molecule and get different effects. We also know that it's already active on important brain targets, and we can tune the selectivity to create therapies for a range of neurological conditions. And so here are our opportunities and where we're focused. Adjusting this molecule to create shorter treatments, we can avoid some of the toxic metabolites, and we can try and tune selectivity to remove the high from MDMA and make it an important medication for conditions like Parkinson's and also other major mental health disorders. So our program looks like this. We're starting with MDMA. We're creating new analogues based on its structure. To date, we've created more than 140 novel analogues. We've actually synthesized, created and screened these compounds. We think it's the largest library of its kind in the world. We're now taking it through a series of important preclinical screens and creating lead programs in a number of important indications. But we're also interested just in the euphoric properties and pro-social effects of MDMA as well. And one of the more interesting areas where it's being studied today in depth is as an adjunct to psychotherapy for major mental health disorders like post-traumatic stress disorder. The qualities that give this drug a great reputation as a party drug, increased feelings of well-being, sociability, decreased feelings of fear and defensiveness, also make it a great adjunct in therapy and can make psychotherapy more durable and effective. And in a really profound study concluded last year, a phase 3 study working with patients suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, they're able to show that just up to 3 intensive sessions with MDMA alongside psychotherapy, that more than 2/3 of the patients no longer met the diagnostic criteria for PTSD. These patients were effectively cured from their PTSD, and each of these patients had an average of 14 years of treatment-resistant post-traumatic stress disorder. So these kinds of studies alone are creating tremendous interest, not only from the clinical community, but also from the investment world into the potential of compounds like MDMA, and we feel we have a really great lead on this program. Our MDMA program is also one of the primary reasons that we took support from Andrew Forrest's private health fund. The 10 Mile Fund launched earlier this year, and we are one of their first portfolio companies. But that's not even the most perhaps promising or immediate way that we are going to return value for shareholders. For the last 3 years, we've been working on an advanced cannabinoid delivery platform using Ultra-Pure CBD in a solid capsule form. What we're aspiring to be is the story of GW Pharma, who spent 20 years, $2 billion, perfecting the refinement of their plant-based CBD so that it could be evaluated as a small molecule at the FDA. That's a really important distinction. And eventually this company, as you've heard maybe a couple of times, was purchased by Jazz Pharmaceuticals for $7.2 billion last year. And so the key takeaways from their story, their successful story, is that drug registration can create tremendous value, but you need really pure product and you need great evidence behind your indication. And so we've developed a fantastic product. Rather than an oil or a gel cap or a dropper, we know our patients prefer solid oral dose forms. And so we've created a solid capsule that can improve the delivery of CBD, ultra-pure CBD with no impurities in the bloodstream. We know that it can deliver higher dose values in the hours 3 to 8, where you want your treatment to be working most effectively. And in a head-to-head comparison with Epidiolex, we showed a number of other distinct advantages. We've also got really great evidence, and what gives us such strong convictions that we've got a good read on where cannabis works most effectively is because for the last 3 years, we've been managing our own network of medical clinics, which have been intensely focused on gathering important clinical evidence on where cannabinoids work most effectively, and that data helps us answer what dose forms patients prefer, what indications cannabinoids work most effectively in, and what doses are most effective. And so that data is supporting a really aggressive global registration program. We're starting first with over-the-counter opportunity here in Australia for the symptoms of psychological distress. But because our dose form meets the FDA purity standards, we use a lab-created CBD, not a plant-grown, so we have full reassurances on its purity. We can take that dose form to FDA and Europe as well. And so we can expand our geographic reach. And through our data and our ongoing clinical trial programs, we can also add additional indications and dramatically grow the commercial value of that program. We've also continued the innovation on the cannabinoid front and have a really remarkable product, RX7, which we're targeting for a range of prescription indications. And in a preclinical model, we showed that we could get 4 times the bioavailability of Epidiolex. So we're really excited about that as well. We're starting to attract the interest from some major global players as well in partnering with us, taking these drugs forward. So key investment highlights. First of all, that Ultra-Pure CBD tech with the purity to take it to FDA and beyond. We're in phase 3 clinical studies already for RX5. RX7's coming up behind. We've got great real-world data that continues to grow through our clinical service. And now we've filled a remarkable R&D pipeline with the MDMA-inspired drug discovery work we're doing with UWA. And we've also got a world-class team to get us across the line. A couple of highlights here. Professor Sir John Took in the middle up the top, knighted for services to medicine, an expert in learning health systems. He's been a great advisor on how we set up our clinics so we can get the most with our patients. And Dr. Karen Smith up in the top right, you've heard the name Jazz Pharmaceuticals mentioned a few times. Karen was the ex-chief medical officer and global head of R&D at Jazz and has been on multiple boards with major billion-dollar acquisitions. And some other folks here with experience in capital markets, clinical medicine, and in my own case, data analysis and clinical trials. Our register is quite tight. Like I said, we've got the great support from the Forrest family there. They own 7.3%, tightly held register, and most importantly, a tremendous program of work to look forward to over the next 12 months. On our RX5, we've got the phase 3 study, which will conclude. That'll allow us to register that treatment as an over-the-counter at TGA and then beyond. We've got the RX7 program entering into phase 1 early next year and pursuing a number of prescription indications. And on the MDMA program, multiple preclinical activities that will read out and help us choose the most promising leads for commercialization. So I hope you follow our story. It's just getting started, and look forward to taking your questions out in the front. Thank you. Cheers.